What's up, Pro Gang? It's Karasu. We back after a long layoff, and we're back with more consistency and some more bangers. First one being the Sentinels question. Sentinels is often the talk of the town in the any Valorant community, and they're definitely the most popular brand, I'd say, selling out their tickets for their franchise matches. But popularity aside, are they even good? Can they even deliver on good results with this experimental roster? Thus far, it's been pretty lackluster. If we're being nice, they looked okay at the Ludwig Tarek Invitational. Losing against TSM was a bit underwhelming, I guess, but that's okay. It was a for fun event. They didn't really prepare, and I can understand that. And then there was lock-in against Fnatic, which is obviously no shame to lose against Fnatic. They're on another level. They eventually won the whole thing. And Sentinels, they have this built-in excuse of having a new roster, still working towards chemistry and teamwork, which is understandable. You know, the thing about their roster is that you had two duos as such, and you have the outlier duos 10s that stayed in Sentinels, and this makes a huge difference compared to roster changes from Loud, NRG, Fnatic, even Leviathan, for example. Them, they kept a core of 3 players and they plugged in 2 new players, and the IGL is the same. I feel that just having a core of 3 players makes it a world of difference in terms of a new roster. You can ask, I mean, Team Liquid, they also had 2 duels and one outlier, and it didn't work really well. They looked awful, actually. So it's understandable, and we still have to be patient on that part. With all that being said, let's see it with our own eyes. Today we dive into their game against Fnatic on Split. I'm gonna start by mentioning that their offense looked great. They have a defined default. They have different variations to it. They have their switch ups as well, where they switch the tempo and all that. They primarily run 2 defaults. Their first default is displayed here, where we have the vertical wall from Pancada. He's gonna put his poison orb here. I mean, the purpose of this, typically from a Viper, is to deny vision from the A defenders. They can't see anything through these lines, so it's always creating a sense of paranoia and at least maybe some map control around this area. So that is secured. We have 2 stars always on mid as well, so depending on where the strat is shifted towards, Def would typically, let's say, smoke here and fake smoke this so that they attack mailbox. You have 10s that's always ice orbing the main as well. So this is pretty much how their default runs. Oh, we have Sachi as well, that Skydog's here, and you have Zekin that is gonna boom bot rebound onto this into top mid. The second variation of their default is very similar, actually. The big difference being it's a cross wall from Pancada here, and the poison orb goes here instead. Again, serving the same purpose as to deny information from the A defenders, but it's more akin to a split through the ropes. So this wall very useful in terms of getting players top ropes here, flashing through with the sky, and you have an A split, something like this, which is again nothing new, but always very efficient with a Viper. I'll show you guys how this pays out.
Rounds, they did go A, but Alpha was
so you have the 2 stars as well. As always, Tens is gonna use his ice orb in just a second here.
Through elbow, and they didn't quite know what was going on.
This VOD is awful, by the way.
I'm not sure Sentinels are gonna go for heavy hits.
Same thing. The dog didn't see anything in this area, but Durka, he creeped through ropes with, you know, a good timing there, and he's gonna punish this open sight onto bottom mid. This boom bot is supposed to bounce here and go into ropes, but this open line here, Durka punishes it really well with his operator onto Def.
The camera again in a really nice spot from Alpha.
So as you can see, there were 2 stars here. So this was a fake smoke. This is a real smoke. Again, since this setup is more akin to an A split, Sentinels, they play around that, and they kind of try to set up that concept here. So they want ropes control, making Fnatic believe that it's going to be an A split. But things go a bit awry here in the early stages of the round. With a pick onto Def.
Opting into that mid control though from Fnatic.
At least the res is going to come in here from Tens.
Opting into that mid control though from Fnatic.
Actually, Tens, he kept his ice orb this round. Okay, so the res came in, it's 5v5 still, but Durka hits a crazy shot here.
Oh, the left-hand approach, wow!
He's crazy. So the smoke is up on mailbox, so it denies information line of sight from the players on mailbox here.
Okay. I mean, just should never have
They're
been
gonna
favored in
feint
that fight yet.
ropes control here. But you can see already with these two players moving to the garage that this is destined to be a B split.
Was out relatively unscathed. I mean, dropped to 27 health, but the kill claimed, and that's the important part.
They make the noise here that they drop into ropes, but they're gonna go into a B split. This is round number 10, where seemingly Sentinels are running the same default with the cross wall, the poison orb here. Obviously always useful to have regardless. In the beginning of the round, we have the same 2 stars. But the adjustment that you can notice here is Sassy, he's mid instead, so he's not going to dog into A. He's going to dog through mid to deny that vision from ropes. As we've seen in round number 8, we had Durka, who was ropes with an op, who punished Def here on bottom mid. So to avoid that, we have the dog coming in here to reassert control over ropes control. Obviously in this round, Durka doesn't have an op. Their economy is a bit iffy in this round, but just denying this vision from whoever is ropes is really useful with this dog. So let's see how this plays out.
Of Haven, which I suppose would be only fitting.
Yeah. Really
This
slow
is
over
slow
from Leo.
over
That's
real
just a bit of
quick.
conditioning. Turk has been opping that act.
And now we have a smoke mailbox, and the dog's going to go through ropes. Again, feinting maybe an A split with the ropes and a main here. This VOD is a bit buggy. I'll just speed it up. Actually, it freezes here. I'll speed it up real quick.
Might have.
Okay, so what's the state of the map here? So we have a 1-3-1 going on from Sentinels. We have Def really passive on B. We have a 3-man push coming through mailbox, and we have Pancada that's going to join them up and watch the flank through the ropes push here. So they're going to re-smoke ropes here. And in terms of Fnatic, from their perspective, I mean, mid has been lost. They've lost vision. They didn't have vision in this choke point, so they can assume that this part of the map is lost, especially with the dog. That's kind of like a bit more convincing. And what's going to happen is that it's going to create this paranoia within Leo. I feel he's going to itch to rotate towards A to maybe solidify the hold here. He's going to itch to rotate here to watch ropes, because it's a possibility. They've lost ropes. As you can see here, while Durka and Poster, they focus on A main. And this puts him out of position, and it also isolates Chronicle, which is going to be punished really hard
That's the
here.
moment. We're back in the game though. Don't worry about it.
As you can see, Leo is itching to rotate.
Minute 10, and
And I'm not a big fan of this 50-50, honestly, from Sassy. I'm not too sure why he's the one taking the duel. If anything, I feel Zekin should be the one to take the duel. And I don't understand why these two are the ones watching this cross. Again, I'm not a big fan of this 50-50. You see how close it is. I mean, Chronicles crosshair is really well placed. He just loses a 50-50, and they lose mailbox. But again, I'm not too fan of this spacing.
hopefully nothing.
I don't think they could have gotten necessarily the trade here. I think that Chronicle could have satcheled out if he would have gotten this kill.
Yep.
It's a bit of slow mid control, and Sassy coming around the corner.
This is a really good smoke by Bolster coming in here, but the Sentinels is still disrespected. Another thing to notice in this round as well is Bolster and Alpha, they switch positions. So Alpha is on B this round. Usually it's kind of like the opposite between these two. This is going to pay big dividends in terms of Alpha being on B. He does a huge pay in just a bit.
Just contacting in.
Neo was out of position because of the paranoia onto the ropes control, and
It's quite far out in
now
the
he's
open
gonna
there.
get
We'll see
crunched.
what can be done. Leo does have a res available, but already that pressure is being applied to him and starting to squeeze him.
Again, this is a really good setup. I mean, we got a guy watching ropes. You have a 3-man setup here. You have Def B main, and even the logic behind the routing is pretty solid to begin with. It's just that this one way on B main is gonna mess it up.
Nade rebounded off the side, sets him up.
This one way is really key to this round. So the logic here of the routing is you have Zekin, he double satchels here, so that him and Def, they have vision onto this angle. And I would assume without this chaos that the double face here would be one rafter and one below. But it gets chaotic and the fundamentals are out the door. So the trip is unfortunate, but I feel that even with just a one-way, Zekin would have been killed here, and Def can't do a thing. He can't trade him. He got one-wayed. And then I don't like this routing by Tens. I don't know why he goes hell here. I feel that he just has to drop here and wide swing this with Sassy. So they have a double swing in this angle. I'm not a fan of him isolating himself into hell.
His target is rotating.
But regardless, again, this is... Again, Booster was coming through spawn, and I think that they could have traded each other, so Booster could have gotten a kill on Tens, for example, down below, and Sassy gets a trade, for example, or the opposite, where he kills Sassy, but Tens gets a trade onto the Omen, which is Booster. I feel the routing's a bit off there.
Difference maker, and what a shot to find. The crossfire
and this one's over.
Quick to respond again in kind.
This hold is crazy by Alpha, but again, you know, the early rounds were really good by Sentinels. They got a 5v3. They just got played with Alpha here, and just small mistakes at the end of it really cost them the round. Let's switch to the defense side. It's a bit surprising, but this is where it all crumbles for Sentinels. They win only one round on the defense side of Spit, which is kind of unforgivable at this level. I isolated round number 19, where Sentinels, they play weak side B and strong side A, as you can see on the minimap here. So in this case, their win condition is to, well, basically if Fnatic they go A, they're gonna have the personnel to deal with it, which we won't see this round, unfortunately. But what happens if they go B? What happens if you've taken the wrong gamble, which happens in this game? It's fine, but you need steps to bring the round back. You know, how do we retake B in this case? So obviously, if you play weak side B, you're gonna have Def playing really defensive, and with the tools that we have, how do we bring this round back? Fnatic, they do a good job of pushing the pace in terms of beating the rotations here, making Sentinels really out of position in the mid round. But still, I feel Sentinels, in terms of how to retake the site, they didn't have the right protocols for it. So let's see how this round unfolds. Okay, so we have Def here. He's going to jump spot into Garage. He's going to spot one. Okay, he spotted one. A flash is going to come through for Sassy. Okay, so he flashes a main, but Alpha has always been really passive on a main, so this is kind of false information, even though he doesn't get the blinded Q. I guess he assumes that he could still be here, for example. So for good measure, Tins is still going to wall a main, regardless of the result of this flash. So that's fine. So that's an ice orb that just flew over Garage. So that's another cue for Def to call to his team. Okay, Sage is also Garage side. And soon enough, he's going to realize, well, there's 4 Garage and there's 1 unknown. And the unknown is kind of predictable. It's going to be Alpha, who's always passive on a main. But the fact that Tins is going to wall for good measure a main here soon enough, they can assume that the most plausible rotation is actually through mid. For Alpha, he always goes mid in their mid round. If anything, I guess he goes really late Garage, but I feel that they have to assess the situation mid, where obviously he's going to be alone, most likely. And they kind of ignore him instead, which is going to bite them in the butt soon enough. Okay, so there's a Cloud Burst, there's a Nade, there was an Ice Orb, and there's a Paranoia. Paranoia here. Okay, this is a pretty solid execute, by the way, by Fnatic. This is pretty good. And the rotations from Sentinels, so we have to look into this. So we had Pancada, that was Robes. We had Top Ramp, which was Zekin. So they group up here, which is fine. We had the 2 players A main, so we have an Ice Wall here. And the rotations for Sassy and Tens is going to be through spawn, but they're going to go mailbox as well. So you're going to have 4 players in mailbox. The idea of having 4 mailbox for a full retake is already pretty questionable, but there are other blunders here. I feel that Def mismanages his stars pretty bad in this run, actually. So we've asserted that there's 4 Garage here, so they have site control. It's pretty well established, and there's still a star on A main, which is where the wall is. There's still a star on mid, which okay, like the lurker is gonna be mid, but how can you really bother him with this star here? He has one spare star that he's gonna use hell. His first star being this smoke here, but he couldn't make use of it because he was forced into a passive position. So he mismanages his star a bit in this round. And then the fact that they leave him alone in this area is really problematic because this wall is going to come in from Leo, which is a great wall, by the way. And Def being alone in this area, he has to break this wall with like 60 bullets alone. I feel that if you have two people shooting on the wall, it makes things easier. But instead, he's just stuck behind this wall that you'll see from Leo here. He's gonna be alone to shoot it. Now let's see what the retake looks like. It's pretty flat if you ask me. There's no protocols. Just to remind you that Def used his smoke here, which is totally useless, honestly. Even if he recalled it in his defense, he wouldn't have it in time for the retake. He finally recalled this star. But this smoke is pretty useless. I would understand if he used it for his teammates to cross, but it's totally useless in this situation. If anything, you could ask Pancada to wall up here, which is what they did to cross. So mismanaged star, he stunned hell like 5 seconds ago. The retake here is an 8 on default, which is fine, okay. There's a Sky ult and a Sky dog that come in as well, but with this utility, they don't gain any ground really because, well, Def is stuck. You don't want like 4 people just dropping in here. It's a bit awkward. So they're all clustered here, and this whole area is unbothered by any of their utility, honestly. Because they lack stars. They don't have any Pancada utility as well onto the B site. There are no protocols to win this round, I feel. It's a pretty flat retake. Would Sentinels win this round with the right protocols? Not necessarily. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if you take the wrong gamble, you should have steps to recover the fact that you're out of position. I'll give props to Fnatic, obviously. They took the right decision to push the pace. They pushed Def out of the site, and they beat out the A rotations. Afterwards, they have a solid pulse plan with a good insurance policy here, being alpha. Comes through mid. Again, how do you win this round? I feel that Sentinels, they don't have that established. They took the wrong gamble, fine, but if they go B, which is the case here, I don't think that they just scramble ideas. Oh, let's group up and go together. Like, that's not enough. I feel that if they go B, what are the steps with the utility that we have? What are the win conditions and how to reach them? It's obviously not all doom and gloom. They've showed solid macro on the offense, some good IGLing by Def. It's just on the defense, Fnatic threw puzzles at them that they just couldn't solve at this point in time, which is totally understandable.
This kid's smart as fuck. This is one of the smartest players I've ever put in my life.
Tens, Pancada, Sasi, they're still top tier players. Zekin had an awful series, but something he can definitely come back from. We'll have to wait and see if they've improved by the time the Americas League rolls around. For now, let's say they have the tools to become a great team, but we have yet to see them put it all together. That's all for this week. Stay tuned for another video next week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Pro Gang out.